Hello, grade 7. We are going to be starting into learning how to be an active reader as we go through our Louis Riel graphic novel. The first step I want you to take is to go into my YouTube channel and look up the playlist that says active reading. So there are a couple of YouTube videos. This guy's obviously goofy looking, but it talks about how do I take notes when I'm reading. I'd like you to pick 2 of those and figure out some strategies for yourself before you begin to read this novel. Step number 2, open up the part of your assignment that has the vocabulary. So it's called Graphic Novel Vocab Part 1. You're going to need to either print this off, that's what I would do, or have it open on a computer while you're reading your novel, whichever works best for you. It is a step-by-step guide of what goes through the novel and what you need to pay attention to. So how to use this vocabulary guide? It is required. This is a required part of your novel study. There are page numbers and important words or ideas that have been highlighted for you. So if you see a page number, you stop at that page number and you take a look at what I've asked you to pay attention to. Stop at these places as you're reading. Look up the definitions on your computer or use some other resource to clarify. So I'm going to use this as an example. I'm actually going to bring this into my document, and I'm just going to bring these first questions into my reading. So here are my questions that I'm going to have. So I'm pretending that this is, a piece of paper that I have beside my novel or something like that, so that I have these ready to go. So I know that on page 3, I've got a question about Rupert's Land. Explain what this is. Why did it matter to the Métis? All right, so let's turn to page 3. And then I'm going to just make this text bigger so that we're able to see it. All right, so here are my questions. So on page 3, it says right here, it says, in 1670, the King of England granted Rupert's Land to a fur trading enterprise called the Hudson's Bay Company. In 1812, the company started the first agricultural settlement in Rupert's Land when it first brought 170 people over from Scotland and placed them by the Red River. So let's take a look at this map and see if it gives us any more information. So we see here, we've got Red River settlement is right here. So if you look at the map of Canada, that shows that it is about in Manitoba, because in modern day we'd have BC over here, and then Alberta here, Saskatchewan, and then Manitoba. So we've got Red River settlement in modern day Manitoba. Pembina is an important thing for you to notice throughout the novel because it's a town on the American side of the border. Now let's take another look at this novel and what it shows to us, because the next question I've asked you is, why did the author choose to do these words down here? So what he said was, he said that the land was land that Britain claimed to own. So if you look up here, these straight lines go with this. So that's land that Britain claimed to own. Then Rupert's Land, all of this, so that's the sideways stripe. That's all land that the Hudson's Bay Company claimed to own. Then this was Canada that had been formed with Confederation that we just spoke about. And then, of course, at the bottom, we've got the United States of America. So it's important for you to get your head around what was the map of Canada like at that time, what was included in the map of Canada, and to make sure that you know where the Red River settlement was. Okay, so let's go back to our question now. Our question was this. On page 3, Rupert's Land. Explain what this is. Why did it matter to the Métis? So there's some inference here. Let's take a look at this map one more time. Okay. Rupert's Land is all of this area here with the sideways stripes. Now, if we look at where the Red River settlement is, it is in Rupert's Land. So let's look at the question again. So we know now what Rupert's Land is. You could explain it. Why did it matter to the Métis? Well, they lived in it. Okay. There's a lot at the beginning of this novel study, grade 7, that's going to ask you to take a really careful look at what things mean. It will provide a strong basis and a strong foundation for your learning as you go on. So let's take a look now at the next question. So the next question refers to page 4, which is right here. Page 4. Reflect on what you understand about the Red River settlement so far. So on page 4, we have all of this information right here. The Red River settlement grew, and by 1869, almost 12,000 people lived there. More than 80% of this population were Métis. So I'm going to make a note of that. This is the kind of thing that you're going to make notes about on your notes or in the planning document. Okay, 80% of those people were Métis. They make sure that we know what does it mean to be Métis. And a large number of the whites who had come into the area had been French fur traders. So the majority of the Red River Métis spoke French. And there's your answer for number 4, or the question on page 4. Okay, we're going to do one more together. But this is the sort of interaction, grade 7, that you must have with this text. Okay, it's not going to work for you to just read through if you're not understanding what you're reading. All right, so on the next page, this is the first page of the actual graphic novel. It shows Sir John A. Macdonald with a very large nose, and that's just a caricature of the way he was presented. All right, so the question on page 7, and this is page 7 right here with Sir John A. Macdonald, negotiations between Sir John A. Macdonald and the Hudson's Bay Company. Okay, so that's all of what's on page 7. Okay, so this question right here. Negotiations between Sir John A. Macdonald and the Hudson's Bay Company. Whose voice was not heard? What assumptions did they make with this agreement? Okay, so whose voice was not heard? Let's make sure that we're understanding this page correctly. As you go through, I would suggest that you write notes down and that you put different questions or ideas on sticky notes and put the sticky notes in your book. You, of course, can't write in your book, but of course, you can write on sticky notes. So here's my first sticky note. London, England, March 1869. Do you mind if we go over that again? I just want to make sure that my notes are in order. So you can see right here that this is Sir John A. Macdonald. So it shows that this is the Prime Minister of Canada. So make sure you're reading every one of the frames very carefully. Next frame. Okay, you're willing to sell Rupert's Land to the Canadian government for £300,000. And as you can see here, these are representatives of the Hudson's Bay Company. And they're saying, we want that money in cash. Okay, next. And I haven't seen anything that I want to write on my sticky note yet, but when I do, it is ready for me. I'm just going to have it close by. And I suggest that you have whatever materials you need close by as well. All right, next one. McDonald says, right, you get to keep 45,000 acres around your trading posts and will get land grant guarantees scattered throughout the territory that'll amount to 7 million acres. Oh, that's a lot. And Hudson's Bay Company says this, that's very important, grade 7. There will be no restrictions around our trading. So they want absolutely no restrictions made on their trading. The next one. The transfers to take place on December 1st were agreed. Yes, we're agreed. Okay. So the question was, whose voice was not heard, and what assumption did they make with this agreement? So here's what I would write on my sticky note. The voice of the Métis not heard here. McDonald and the Hudson's Bay Company assumed they could just take over Red River. Now, I would put this on the side of my book, and the way that I like to do this with sticky notes is I like to stick them out the side of my book like that. So as you go through, you would be able to go through and notice your notes and any answers to questions that you see. Now that's where I'm going to stop it.